to another fight that we've got. I want you guys to take a look at this clip. And this is a recent gathering of Democratic members of the United States House of Representatives who went to Texas to protest Governor Greg Abbott and Texas Republicans' plans to redistrict that state in order to eliminate Democratic districts to comply with Trump's demand for 5 new Republican districts, what'd you say there? To ensure that his toady Republicans will keep the House of Representatives in next November elections. So let's play this clip if we could.
The president used that term because he knew that it would incite people. He wanted to incite people to believe that what he wanted done would be justified because minorities were somehow being given a privilege that they shouldn't have. That's what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. Very clever. But we're going to stand up against this. And the truth of the matter is, somebody has to have the courage to say that it's racism. Unfortunately, we have grown to the point in this country where you can use racism against people of color, but people of color can't respond and say, that's racism. If we do, you're not going to print it. You're not going to carry it. What you're going to do is allow the racist statement to prevail, and what we try to do to fight it by indicating that it is racist, you allow that to just be words that evaporate into nothingness. So I just challenge you, the members of the press. None of these friends of mine are doing it. They're not doing this. This is Al Green. I'm a liberated Democrat. I challenge you. Tell the truth. Let the world know that President Trump is using race and that we're responding to it.
And that was Texas Representative Al Green, who joins me now. Representative Green, thank you so much for being here. I have to say that from the very time we started this show, you are one of the people that I have most wanted to talk to because I, too, my friend, am a liberated Democrat. I want to give you an opportunity to say more about your frustrations with the media and the way the media has covered what's happening in Texas and what Trump is doing in general.
Well, thank you for having me. It really is a preeminent privilege to be on with you. And I must say, if I can, we really missed your voice. It really means so much. You not only spoke truth to power, you spoke truth about power. You speak truth to power by saying, power, there's a problem. Let's solve it. But when you speak truth about power, you say, power, there's a problem, and you're it. And you did that. You had courage. I could go on, but just thank you for having me on your program. I'm honored.
Thank you so much, Representative Green. And that is an unsolicited compliment. And I will give it back to you because let me tell you something. No one can really see it in the studio, in our studio right now here at the Joy Reid Show. But if you were to pivot this camera, Representative Green, I actually have my only political picture that I have in this studio is a picture of you, sir, shaking your cane at Donald Trump and the Republicans in the well of the Congress. I actually ordered that photo from AP and blew it up because I'm like, I need that picture. It's inspirational to me. And the thing about it to me that was actually sad about that picture, both seeing you as a Black man standing up there, shaking your cane in a room, a majority white room, as the whole white dais is looking down upon you, and this entire sort of Republican cohort, which is super monolithic, is staring you down, is that you were the only person standing. Is that my expectation when I saw that live was that everyone would stand up too and walk out behind you when you were dragged out of that room. And I wonder if you've had conversations with your fellow Democrats as to why. I mean, later on, some other members did walk out, to their credit. But do you know why, when you were dragged out of that room, you weren't followed by, most of your colleagues?
Candidly speaking, I don't know why. I can only speculate, and I'd rather not do that. I can tell you this, that it was something that I felt compelled to do. It wasn't something that was contrived. I went there to simply protest by walking out. But when he talked about his mandate, I was overcome by knowing that the committee that had jurisdiction of Medicaid had a commitment almost to commit some $830 billion. So I had to just speak up and let the president know that that wasn't a part of his mandate. Now, if I may move to your question, because there are 2 points that I'd like to make in reference to your question. Yes, I am a liberated Democrat. That means unbought, unbossed, unafraid, censured but not silenced. And here are 2 things that we're picking up from this redistricting. One, that what they're doing is absolutely an abomination. They're committing racism with their new maps, and I can go into that. But there's a bigger issue that has come to light. And the bigger issue is people can use racism against us, but we can't say that word in our defense. If we say that word in our defense, we lose airtime. You have the courage to have me on, but they're not going to have me on these major networks because I'm saying the word racism.
So you're talking about, I want you to start a little bit over and say that there's a reason why you're not like on every show, because after I saw that video, I was like, ooh, this man's going to be hard to book because he's going to be everywhere. Why do you suppose that media is not listening to you?
Because in our country now, we have developed this notion that we must eliminate anti-Semitism. By the way, I'm for that. I'm going to do everything that I can to eliminate anti-Semitism. But when it comes to racism, we seem to want to manage it, not eliminate it. And in managing it, we try as best as we can not to say it. We want it to just kind of evaporate, just go away. It'll be all right. It will, time in and of itself will cause this to dissipate. But that's not going to happen. It's not the passage of time. It's what you do with time as it passes that makes the difference. And we're not doing our job in fighting racism in this country because it still exists, it's still systemic, and it still is an impediment to our success. Not all of us. Some of us are very fortunate and we make it through and we get to the top. But most of us are still lingering and dealing with racism that impacts our jobs, that impacts our promotions. And I would say this, my concern is that it can impact our health care. I mean, I have to be very careful where I eat. I have to be very careful what I consume. And I'm concerned about who's giving it to me to consume it. So this is the life that I live now. My life will never be the same again, but I'm still a liberated Democrat. I'm still going to speak truth to power and truth about power. We've got to do this because the bigger issue is, yes, the lines are there, and yes, these lines are racist, but the bigger issue is, why can't we fight with the same tools that others use when they have a problem similar to ours? We're relegated to fight with both hands tied behind our backs and to use only some rhetoric that is soft so that we look a little bit servile, that we look subservient, that we look like we're ready to, at any moment, agree that this is nothing more than just another kerfuffle.
I agree. I mean, respectability politics, where essentially only tends to constrain mainly Black people, right? Is that, and I get hit for this a lot all the time. Well, why are you always talking about race? Well, I wouldn't talk about race if people weren't racist, right? If Donald Trump didn't do racist things, I wouldn't talk about race. It's not like I just want to talk about race just for the fun of it. I'm talking about race because he is doing racist things. And one of the racist things that he has done is to go to the governor of Texas, one of our most apartheid states. And I'm going to say that very deliberately. The reason I say Texas is an apartheid state is it is a minority white state where non-white people have almost no power other than members of Congress. So folks like yourself or some state reps and state senators who are of color, Black or brown, are the only representation that non-white Texans have, because statewide they have none. And yet, what this governor has agreed to do at Trump's orders, he is being obedient to Trump. Trump says, I want 5 more districts. So Donald Trump's Department of Justice, their so-called Civil Rights Division, I now call it the Department of Injustice because they flipped everything on its head. They've said, well, you know what? We need to fix Texas because Texas is gerrymandered to make minorities have too much power. It's gerrymandered against white Texans. That is what you were responding to in that clip that we played at the top. That Donald Trump has claimed, his Department of Injustice has now said, oh no, the gerrymandering is against white Texans. They need more representation. So we're going to make 5 more seats by combining several other districts that are now governed by Black or brown people, combining them together, your district, Representative Castro's district, and some others, 4 out of the 5 being Black-run districts or districts run by Black or brown people, combine them to make 5 Republican districts instead, right? Have I gotten that accurate?
eminently correct. And if you were in this room, I would kiss the ground you walk on, literally. Dear lady, dear sister, I thank you for saying it, because you have a certain amount of credibility that you lend to anything that you say. You built this in your history. And I happen to have the communique from the Justice Department to the governor of the state of Texas. And this communique is very explicit. It says, and I'm going to quote, if the state of Texas fails to rectify the racial gerrymandering, they're introducing race, of Texas 9, that's me, of Texas 18, that was Sylvester Turner, who has made his transition, 29, Sylvia Garcia, who is a person of color, and 33, who is Mark Veazey, the Attorney General reserves the right to seek legal action against the state. Now, Texas Attorney General writes back and says to the Justice Department, the Injustice Department, thank you for correcting me, he writes back and says, in essence, this, oh, no, 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 that's not the way we do things in Texas. Remember, we don't say we're going to do things in gerrymander to benefit people. We say it's politics. This is how we do it. And by the way, when we say that, the Supreme Court has said if you're doing it for partisan political reasons, somehow that's okay now. But what it does is it affords the person who's saying it to be the only person to know why you did it. And there's no way, except for this trail of evidence that they happen to be leaving this time, that will help us when we get to court, because we are going to court. I already have my lawyers. I have my demographer. We are going to take this to court. But the important thing to remember is this, what you said about my state of Texas. Texas is the state that had white primaries. White primaries. Lonnie Smith, who was here in the state of Texas, here in Houston, Texas, was a dentist. And he took this case all the way to the Supreme Court to eliminate white primaries. What did Texas do afterwards? It had white pre-primaries. This is the way Texas operates. Since we've had the Voting Rights Act in place, Texas has been subject to it every year. Texas is a state that consistently tries as best as it can to suppress the votes of minority people, be they of any hue, minority people. And you're right, it's a majority state, but minorities still control the levers of power. And that's got to change. But it won't change by us denying the facts. We've got to say it, and we've got to fight with those tools that make the difference. We are having an Edmund Pettus Bridge moment. John Lewis was a dear friend of mine. We protested together, went to jail together. And he told me about the Edmund Pettus Bridge. He said that as they reached the apex, where you could see what was on the other side, they knew what awaited them, Joy. They knew, but they marched on. And he said he thought he was going to die on that bridge. They beat them all the way back to the church where they started. Before that moment, we just had a little more than a handful of African Americans in Congress. But it was that seminal moment in time that made the difference. And it was the fact that they were willing to march on. This is our Edmund Pettus Bridge moment. We need to march on. We need to, if they could fight racism by walking into billy clubs and people on horses, surely we can fight it by announcing it and saying it and telling people that we don't like it and that we're going to fight it at the polls and in the streets with peaceful protests, non-violent peaceful protests. But we can do this. But we're not going to fight this moment appropriately and successfully until we decide to speak truthfully and take on the challenges associated with invidious discrimination.
One of my personal heroes, Texas Representative Al Green, who knows how to fight, the man who shook his cane at injustice for the defense of Medicaid, for the defense of the poor. I'm a church girl, so I believe that Jesus enjoined us to care. There it is. There it is. The man who shook that cane at the establishment and at power to say he's going to stand for the poor as Jesus commanded us to do, and who is now fighting for the representation of all Texans to make sure they have equal access to power. This is all about power, y'all. If you're going to be a Democrat at this point, you better be a liberated one if you want to hang with me and Representative Green. Representative Green, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, y'all. So that's it. I mean, listen, this is the way we need to fight. And this is the reason that California is now proposing to do turnabout and change its redistricting to take away Republican seats. It's why Illinois is considering doing it. It's why New Jersey is considering doing it. It's why New York is considering doing it. And even if you oppose gerrymandering, you need to tell your representatives, if you're from one of those states, hey, Maryland, please do it also. Because we are at war with fascism. We are at war with apartheid. They are attempting to create apartheid. If you have to show your papers on the street due to the color of your skin, if you are approached by masked men, do you know what that looks like? It looks like 80s apartheid South Africa. Black people in South Africa had to show their papers and show their identity in order to prove that they were allowed to be on the street in public. That is apartheid. If you cannot vote for the representatives of your choice because you're gerrymandered out of power, that is apartheid. And so the reality is we are living, unfortunately, in autocracy and apartheid, and we have to fight it like Representative Green fights. We don't have a cane to shake, but shake what you got. Thank y'all for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe. Share this channel. Make sure that everybody subscribes to the YouTube channel. 70% of people are lurking, watching these shows and not subscribing. Why would you do that? So make sure that you like, subscribe, and throw some comments in. Thank you all for joining the Joy Reid Show. See you on the next one, and goodbye for now.